Capricorn, hi, welcome to your Capricorn October 2021 reading and forecast. It's great to see you. I hope you're doing well, and welcome back to the subscribers. Much love and affection to you always. Now, I don't normally say this because I know that you're intelligent and you know how YouTube works, but if you do like the reading, then please smash the like button, share it with your friends, and if you're here for the first time and enjoy what you see, subscribe, and then you'll get one of these each month. And I think there's going to be a yearly forecast presented as well probably before Thanksgiving, I think. So let's see what there is in store for you. There's 5 cards that we're going to take because that's all we need to have. And I mentioned that Capricorns, if you do want to have a private reading with me, just check out the information which is below, because I've done many of you recently. Now, this deck is one, incidentally, that you probably haven't seen around very often. Certainly I haven't seen it around very often. There's the Knight of Swords. I've had this for years, it seems, and it is unfailingly accurate whenever I have it. 5 of Cups, whenever I use it. The artwork on it is something which is different to everything else that's out there. There's the 3 of Swords. It's something which is interesting and unusual, and actually really very beautiful in its own way. It's really for grown-ups though. And there's the 4 of Cups. There's nothing. Sometimes some of the pictures have ladies in tastefully nude positions, but there's nothing here at the moment. More's the pity, I suppose, but let's have a look. Let's see what there is finally for you. The Queen of Pentacles. Well, let's have a sit down here next to me. We'll have a quite close look at these cards together while I do the reading for you. There now, I think you can see these cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as we drew them. Now let's have a look at this Knight of Swords first. Now, as a knight, let's have a look. What is the image saying here? With an air of detachment, she surveys her competitors. There will be no contest here. Now, this is a person, I think, who is, well, first of all, I'll say as knight, it's air, and it's in the suit of air, esoterically, so it's the airy part of air. So it's a person who is intellectual and full of ideas and plans, very clever, but possibly unstable from time to time. Could be domineering, elusive, or impressionable. A lot of Aquarius around here and a lot of Capricorn around it. But there is intuition, creative thinking, cutting through entanglements. I think you're going to find that you are starting to make sure that you become free of limited ideas and models, and you'll have a great and clear perception. Lots of air, though. There is therefore a lot of activity going on. The danger is that there is activity without plans. There's got to be a direction, because I suspect that her, and she's in the mode here at the moment where she could have direction, but any direction that she takes could well be just incidental or accidental. And you want to make sure that you stay in control. You will be a master of creative ideas and thinking, and therefore planning, having had that warning. Now, a prerequisite for being able to think creatively is unrestricted freedom. The creative thought process can't tolerate being limited in any way. This is why she, I think, swings around and may sometimes be seen to have a lot of activity that's going on here. Now, sometimes problems appear insurmountable to us because of old, limiting belief systems and convictions. For example, I am weak and dependent, or if I assert myself, I will be punished, or I am basically clumsy. in some past situation, perhaps in your childhood, such feelings may have had a certain validity, but now they have no relation to your present reality. But the danger is that you continue to drag these beliefs along with you, however, repeatedly experiencing situations which reinforce them. You might tell yourself, for example, that your basic clumsiness, as an example, causes you to drop and break things. But reality is actually a little different, you know. You don't simply fall into situations accidentally, but create them around yourself based on your beliefs about reality. A man, for example, who is embarrassed about his terrible clumsiness, for example, will so restrict his movements, afraid of being clumsy, that his movements really will be clumsy. Whatever true natural grace he may possess remains undiscovered and undeveloped, because at some time in the past, someone convinced him to see himself as clumsy. Now, I'm just using that as an example, but you get the drift, don't you? Now, if you closely examine aspects of yourself which are unsatisfactory, you can see that each uncomfortable or unworkable situation serves to show you your own misconceptions and mistaken attitudes. Once you have seen these for what they are, you can correct or let go of them. I think you'll be smart during this period and have a very highly developed intellect in very many ways. You'll love thinking, questioning, and philosophizing. You'll be good at creating ideas quickly, but be careful that you don't move on to the next idea without fully developing the first. And you might find that your intellect could be draining to others who may not be able to keep up with you. You'll be independent, I think quite private. There are moments when people are going to find you difficult to get to know, I think, or may think that you lack emotional warmth and empathy, which is not you at all. But this might indicate a need to slow down and analyze your thoughts to see if something practical can be gained from them. Now, free yourself from whatever limits your mind and spirit, and be sure you express your ideas and plans in ways that other people will understand. Accept their opinions humbly. Let's have a look at her again. Accept their opinions, what was I saying? To accept their opinions humbly. Well, do you know, your thinking may be just way ahead of its time, but you can adjust to make your vision workable in the present without sacrificing anything. Now, what beliefs, feelings, relationships, or programmed ideas do you allow to limit yourself? Because this woman has freed herself from such limitations of earlier programmed ideas. And say to yourself, my creative possibilities have no limits, but they need to be grounded. Well, let's stay on the same line and have a look at the same top horizontal line and have a look at this Five of Cups. Now here, the cup of sorrow spills its tears upon the ground almost in a way, isn't it? There's really some sort of a loss in pleasure, I think, which is coming about with you. Now, why would that be the case? I think it's because there's Mars ruling Scorpio here. That's what it is. If I'm looking at these other cards and the position that it's in, it's Mars ruling the first decan of Scorpio, that 23rd of October to the 2nd of November. Now, I also have Mars in the number 5 here, mystically, and that's also a lot of fire and heat and aggression. Now, with Mars in Scorpio, you would ordinarily expect a really positive aspect to the card because Mars actually is the ruler in ordinary astrology of Scorpio. But then we have Mars in the numerology coming in as well. And Mars is, in some respects, in its lowest form, it has a lot to do with destruction and with aggravation. And this extra Mars comes in here, brings in the extra fire, which comes in with Mars in Scorpio, so that the waters, the emotions, the watery element of Scorpio is evaporated. And you may feel that you end up with something of an arid environment. I think the extra Mars coming from the numerology also overpowers any good relationship between the Mars and Scorpio astrology, which I see in the card. So there may be the time here where you feel that there are some unfulfilled expectations or a loss of sense of balance, some problematic relationship or relationships could be around. So you should expect disturbances, I suppose is what I'm saying that. Maybe it's because your expectations were much too big. Some unexpected event, perhaps only a thoughtless reaction, has ruined them abruptly. The aggressively destructive energies now dominating the scene have probably been smouldering beneath your surface for a long time, and you've overlooked them, perhaps because you didn't want to admit to their existence. You ignored the warnings of your inner voice, but now you have to face these sobering facts and look them in the eye. But remember, every disappointment, however, contains the possibility of an important learning experience, every one of them. You might find, for example, that maybe things didn't work out as expected, but this card sitting here as it is, with this Queen of Pentacles below it, which is just a fantastic story in itself, and I'll probably get to that at the end. This energy is saying, don't wallow around in self-pity if any expectations are unfulfilled, because new and better experiences are in store. Now, it's often the case that we can become disillusioned with our future and with life ahead. But you shouldn't be during this period. If you are feeling disappointed by someone else's actions, find it in your head and heart to forgive them, because forgiveness releases the forgiver. The feelings, I think, that have surfaced with this card here, they can often tend to give rise to fear of taking another risk or making an effort in the future, or hiding away someplace where you can't be disappointed by someone again. So I think either some much too high expectation of yours might be unmet, or somewhere deep inside you lurks the fear of some disappointment. So now is a good time to step back, look at it, detach yourself from it, and learn from the situation. In what areas of your life do you fear disappointment? What have you learned from the disappointments you've experienced until now? How can you prevent disappointment? And say this to yourself: I get to know my own reality by learning to see where I fool myself or deny my inner voice. Now let's have a look at a card which is just in the middle here. Here it is. These are the three swords of deception that can sometimes, I think, pierce the heart of faith. Look, this is Saturn in the second decan of Libra, the 3rd to the 12th of October. Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn gets a bad rap. Saturn is said to be the great malefic in ordinary astrology, as you may well know. And it just says that bad things always come along when Saturn is there. Whereas actually, I think Saturn is very constructive as a planet. And it is one that actually, it's kind of detached in a way, but it is always pushing things along for you in a good way. It is always making sure you stay on course to live the life that you had come here to live, to learn, to experience, to give what it is that you had intended to give before you became incarnate into the body and material life that you now have. Saturn, nevertheless, often deals with, in the minds of many, limits, restrictions. It's about time, form, and formality. And the Suit of Swords can be difficult, it has to be said. It could be that there's something going on here which is giving you some degree of emotional pain or mental anguish, because this is the Suit of Swords, which is about the head. It may well be that there's been some sort of a parting or the ending of a relationship, something giving rise to a doubt or worry perhaps, or something moving into your mind, providing a lack of clarity or a heaviness. That's the Saturn side of something. Saturn applies its hard lessons on Libra's desire for relationship. So sorrow is a natural event that most people go through at some point. Now, Libra is also associated with adjustment, so it is also linked, I think, to the universal law of karma, or cause and effect. Saturn can be a strict teacher, and it makes all impurities visible. It blocks all comfortable avenues of escape. The lesson to be learned here is no less than the mastery of care and the mastery of worry. A brooding, distrustful outlook must be recognized clearly as negative energy which separates you from your origins. You know, this card, I think, can also relate to tension, or a tension-loaded three-sided relationship, and is attempting in some way to explode or destroy it. Now, this situation usually demands clear decisions, and any attempt to avoid making them causes sorrow and worry. It might be that there has been sorrow over past hurts, past losses, past separations, things that people have said, things that people have done. And they're sort of wallowing underneath the surface of you. There's a sort of a melancholy or an unhappiness or a longing to be whole. This card here at this time is really a summons to you to make clear, unequivocal decisions. And only in this way can the lost balance, that Libra aspect that I was talking about, only in that way can it be regained. Now, what decisions are difficult for you to make or face? Say this to yourself: every problem contains its own solution. You know, the fact is that sometimes, I'm going to put these two cards together because I think there's some message coming through here. Very often, sometimes, what causes us grief or causes us worry or causes us a feeling of melancholy or lack of wholeness are things that we have done, things that we have said in the past, or things that we should have done or should have said, either in standing up for ourselves or for somebody else, or things that we've done or said to somebody else. But it's important that you remember this, that despite what you may believe, you can disappoint people and still be good enough. You can make mistakes and still be capable and talented. You can let people down and still be worthwhile and deserving of love. Everybody has disappointed someone they care about. Everybody messes up, lets people down, makes mistakes, not because we are inadequate or fundamentally inept, but because we are imperfect and fundamentally human, and expecting anything different is just setting yourself up for failure, because nobody is perfect. Well, let's see what there is next. What is there next? This one, which is Four of Cups. Okay. Well, I think that image is quite self-explanatory, isn't it? Yeah, self-explanatory, I think. The Lord of Blended Pleasure, I call it. Look, this is the moon ruling the third decanate of Cancer, the 12th to the 22nd of July. Now, the moon rules Cancer, which is a good thing. And I think the underlying message of this is that you want to be emotionally fulfilled, but you want to be emotionally fulfilled in a deep way, don't you? In a way that is deep. That's the type of relationship that you want. But it may be that in order for you to deepen or to obtain a deep relationship, it might be that you're going about it the wrong way. Now, the moon in Cancer, well, the moon is associated with the principle of flux and change, and your own emotional states may be shifting like the phases of the moon. There's a lot of love here, a lot of tenderness, emotional riches. I think that these cups here these glasses express the wealth of feelings at hand, whose roots are deep in the subconscious. This luxury is a responsibility as well as a gift. It demands measured behavior and awareness, as well as an ability to enjoy and share, to pass it on to others. The danger exists, however, that emotions take on a life of their own, and moderation can be thrown to the winds, and we are driven by the emotions unconsciously. In this case, the sky and the water may be blown by the wind and lose their clarity. In times like now, it's best to be doubly awake, especially in familiar or intimate relationships. An expression of devotion and care is important. Now, funnily enough, I'm also getting the feeling that in relation to something that you may have recently bought, or something that you get some sort of boredom or dissatisfaction with it. Actually, also, could you be too familiar with your environment? That's something which is coming in. I'm just thinking that there's a lack of motivation hanging around, and the need for you now to set new goals. And you might be looking at material things for happiness, to paper over something that really needs to be worked on in your heart and in your mind. It could be that you are seeking temporary pleasure as an escape for feelings of discontent. And when you do that, of course, then the opportunity is there for substance abuse. This is also a call to you to realize what you do have and appreciate it, because you know there are plenty others worse off than you. Do you know at the moment you are being given much love and devotion from the divinity? Enjoy it. And you're getting love and devotion from elsewhere. Enjoy it, but without becoming dependent on the devotion and love from others. Are you in a relationship in which you feel restricted? Are you expressively devoted to someone? Say to yourself, whoever it is that you happen to be with, I really enjoy being with that person, full of thankfulness and joy. Well, that takes us, I think, to, what is it? The Queen. The Queen of Pentacles. See, the happy ending, as always, for you. You see, God wants you to have a happy life, and that's the reality of it. That's the thing. A lot of Capricorn around this card. Also, Sagittarius is going to be important to you. Now, the Queen is esoterically water, and she's in the suit of earth. Now, they're friendly and kind of passive, so there isn't any conflict within the Queen. She's obviously preparing for her Jubilee, I suppose. I think what this is here, that you'll be ambitious, but work with instinct and intuition at this time rather than with your intellect. Now, I'm not saying that you're not intellectual. What I am saying is that go with the flow and use intuition rather than come up with any great left field things. You'll be quiet, hardworking, and practical. Sensible, I think, is what I see here. It can also refer to somebody else that you may know, and That person is someone who possesses the finest of the quieter qualities, and they can, in a reticent and unassuming fashion, actually be quite sexy and lustful and get into the drink, into the drugs. Well, it's always the quiet ones, isn't it? But they get into substances almost as if that's the only way that they can realize their essential happiness, by getting outside of themselves. I think what's happened is that you've sort of had a long, hard trek through the desert, really, and this is now behind you, and you've arrived at a greener, more fertile land. This is a time for you also, I think, to make sure that physically things are going well with you. You'll be ambitious, affectionate and kind, charming, practical. Very good for domestic duties, people involved in doing things around the home or for or with their families. Very good time for this. The other thing that I need to say about it is that I think that you should keep practical, compassionate, and have a nurturing attitude to others and your own circumstances. Go with the flow, as I say. Now, this queen here, and again, I raise it again, she really represents health and diet to me. So I think diet, health, the amount you consume, be careful of what you consume. Go forward quietly at this time without an overt attack upon existing situations. I think you've been through an arid stretch on your journey so far, and you've now arrived in more fruitful surroundings. Now I think you can rest and devote some attention to yourself and to your physical needs. In what ways have you neglected your body and your outer self? Do you indulge yourself just a little too much, perhaps? Devote more attention to your health and physical beauty. Now you're already beautiful and handsome, as the case may be, but don't rest on your laurels. Continue building up your body and your looks. And say to yourself, I give my body the gift of loving attention, and it gives me the gift of life, energy, joy in living, and health. Well, that is a great spread of cards for you. Good job, Capricorn. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, there you go, the month of October. Wasn't that fascinating? I thought it was fascinating anyway. I think it's going to be a great month for you. Things happening, things moving forward, things cleaning out inside, making you bigger, stronger, faster, and ready to take on the world, leading up into this season to come. Now, until then, though, and until next month's reading, there's one thing that I want you to remember, and remember this always, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.